Now we'll move on to the first session. It is titled Smart City Global Convergence through GSCL 2030. We have three interviewees lined up for his interview session. Mr. Vijay Jagannathan is Secretary General of CityNet. Mr. David Borgeras is Head of Digital Transformation in IDB Invest. Dr. Peter Zhang is Program Manager of Strategic Partnership in A-Star Institute of Microelectronics. The session will be moderated by Professor Chun-Seok Hwang, Director of Seoul National University Global R&D Center, as an interviewer. Please give a warm welcome to Professor Chun-Seok Hwang and all of the interviewees. Professor Chun-Seok Hwang, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Min-Soo, again, for your introduction to me and also for our interviewee. Well, like the previous forum, we will be following the similar format on this forum that the first session will be interview session under some key issues in the agenda and for the theme. The second panel are in more thematic discussion about the cases, which we already heard about the new city case of the smart city development, and the panel discussion will do the more detailed panel discussion on it. Before I move on to this year's Smart City Leadership Forum theme, I'd like to give a little bit detailed leadership introduction about our interviewee. First, Dr. Vijay Jagannathan, who is also one of our interviewees, is the Secretary General of the CityNet, a network of city and civil society representative and training institution in the Asia Pacific region, interested in peering learning, knowledge sharing, and promoting sustainable urban development in ASEAN continent. Dr. Jagannathan is also concurrently a senior fellow at the World Resource Institute since his retirement from the World Bank. In this capacity, he is also advising the Institute's work in the developing its sustainable cities agenda. In addition, he is also consulting with the international regional organizations such as the Green Climate Fund and also World Bank. He's also a member of Sustainable Development Solution Network and launched by the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon in August 12. Dr. Jagannathan holds a PhD in economics from the Boston University and also blended a unique combination of operational experience, system knowledge, and excellent client relation skill developed through decades-long engagement with policymakers and also projects that in over 25 developing countries and multilateral, bilateral development organizations. Secondly, also the very distinguished the interviewee is Mr. David Borgeras, who is also my friend from Inter-America Development Bank, is highly accomplished senior executive specialized in digital business transformation in multinational and complex organizations with more than 20 years of experience in the banking industry and entrepreneurial experience co-founding to startup. And also he has a solid leadership and the interpersonal skill to build relationship with the C-level client and SMEs that generate the value from their investment in technology and actively improve the performance and the efficiency of the organizations. And also, David is passionate for the innovative challenge that scale up to deliver the business result and also enthusiast team building, inspiring high performance, collaborative, professional in multilateral environment. And lastly, but not least, the third interview is also Dr. Peter Hyun-Ki Chang, is a MEMS expert with a solid product and technology development experience and also vertically integrated covering design and process integration and packaging and reliability, and also he has been working with the various players in the various chain from founder and IDMs and also tool provider and also test solution providers. He has a good experience in system engineering as well as act as an international auditor and representative of many standard organizations. Dr. Chang holds his PhD from electrical engineering from Seoul National University. As you can see that the interviewees actually holds a strong leadership in various organizations. I'd like to give my very special thanks to all of our interviewee. And before I move on to our interview, I'd like to give a little bit of overview about how we are going to have a discussion on our metaverse and sustainable cities. And I'm going to have a very quick review. Well, this year's theme is a great global convergence between digital twin and metaverse, especially for the sustainable smart city. And we know that there's an immediate need to make our society more sustainable way, and we believe that the leadership should practice with very strong commitment with some strategic missions and tools. And we believe also that the smart city is sort of the new civilization effort. I'd like to state that that civilization effort in this also the forum will say the metaversity, which means that our city environment will be expanded boundlessly, or even not without physical boundary, but also through the knowledge boundary, and then creating more ongoing, evolutionary, and infinite or exponential economic and also ecosystem opportunity. That will result in, for our environment with sustainability and smartness and also some way of uniqueness to solve our limitation, what we so-called the singularity. We know that the smart city is dealing with a very complex set of technology, which we already hear the NeoCity cases by the Osceola County Manager, Don Fisher, who has been a great leader on the county, and then dealing with very complex matter, not only the infrastructure of buildings, but also a lot of economic development and strategy, at the same time education and law and the culture. In that regard, we believe that datafication of the real fact and the problem is very important, that is ongoing in all knowledge society. For that regard, the smart city can play as a platform where we can build up future innovation as an innovation system. Then those innovation systems will provide more sharing environment and interactive environment through digital twin and the metaverse. The virtue of these two technologies are very important for us to imagine that our current limitation of the city and city infrastructure can be improved by having global cooperation. And in that way, some of the city may have a lab, some of the city may have already in the center or innovation center, but finally, that may have some smart district or the special district, which I believe that NeoCity is sort of such smart district planning within Osceola County. Finally, that impact will spill over to all the county, all the region, and then final smart civilization might happen with all these excellent technologies, which we believe that not only the data and brings a digital twin or metaverse the way of sharing, but also the way of using the data will implement with some intelligence and the way of ability to deal with the information and knowledge. At the same time, how securely and have a trust on those are also very important. I believe that our current smart city is a vision, but it is already happening in a small scale or with a big vision in the world, even limit to the space. So I'd like to share with a vision that which I shared at the interviewee, that we are pursuing to the long term as a Smart City 3.0 version, which I say that Smart City as a services, and we're already practicing that, and 3.0 actually resembles that the smart city generation 1 represents with the technology, and 2.0 may represent with the data, and 3.0 may represent with these more expanded and virtual and also real time service as a smart city services. So now I'd like to conclude my brief overview. Now let me bring to our main theme and discussion today. Okay, thank you Vijay and also Peter and David for being with us. I'm really feeling that really we are in virtual and real world. Probably next year we will probably use Oculus and some other goggles to have a 3D version and more. So, like I already, share with you some of and then I'd like to give you some common questions or interview questions to all of you, and then I'd like to have Vijay and Peter and Peter and David actually comment on it. So, first question and interview question I have is. That we know that there are a lot of problems and solutions associated with the problem, and that we try to implement in the smart city. So what I see is that smart city have the purpose of solving the problem that our city and societies are experiencing, as we know, and those are very diverse. Some of them are local, and some of them are very common in the global level. And from your point of view and experience and practice, what city problems you have been actually concerned about, especially in these days as a leader, and as a leadership in the CityNet and your organization and your finance organization? So that is a common question. Probably each of you may have a different answers, but I'd like to start some of the inspired comment from Vijay. Vijay, over to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Huang, for inviting me to speak today. As you rightly pointed out, that we are looking at three very different versions of the smart city. So I liked your characterization of smart city 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. So in each of these, there were different kinds of problems which were resolved by, by the fact that there was more and more of connectivity. And especially when you look at Smart City 1.0, the really big deal were two things. One is that there was the universalization of the mobile phone. And the second was that a lot of the data also, because we also had much better connectivity, it was also possible to get the data and also use GPS as another very powerful tool, which completely changed the business landscape in the cities. And the reason why it's so important, especially for our members in the Asia Pacific region, where you have a large number of very poor people, and also you have very large population of youths coming into the workforce without much scope for employment, this gave rise to the gig economy in a very big way. And the gig economy has led to, as of course we all know, not only the big companies like Uber, but Ola in India, Gojek in Indonesia. These are all local innovators who came in and basically used the gig as a way to create employment and to provide services. And above all, it gave hope and opportunity to a lot of young people who otherwise would have been very frustrated because employment opportunities were not as much as the people coming in. That was 1.0. When it comes to 2.0, basically with the sensor revolution having come everywhere, and the fact that all our infrastructure services are based on electronic sensors, the situation is a little more complicated because in our cities, many of the services are provided by different levels of government and also the private sector. For example, electricity may be from a national agency. Transport may be from either the local municipal level or the national level, and so on and so forth. So one of the big challenges has been how to make a system of systems. And we are really honored that you are going to come and address our CityNet Congress in a few weeks' time, because a lot of our mayors face this problem that if you really want to take advantage of IoT and to build in services which serve much better the customers and also are financially self-sustainable, there has to be a much greater awareness and agreement with the national level ministries to bring about this kind of seamless transition. So the 2.0 is still work in progress. There's a lot which has to be done. There's a great deal of awareness, but I would say in many of our less developed countries, cities, it still hasn't come. It's still very, very fragmented. You have many legacy systems, and as a result, services are not as good as they should be. Then you talked about 3.0, which I think is very fascinating too, because in a sense, 3.0 might help us with 2.0 too, because when you do have the digital twin and metaverse and, with virtual reality and augmented reality and so on, it would be much easier to convince political leaders at all levels, communities at all levels, on the importance of visualizing the city differently in the context of the kind of data we are getting today. So that's the from my point of view, 3.0 is extremely important, and we are actually as CityNet, we are actually honored to have Seoul Metropolitan Government as our resident city. We've also got Yokohama, which is another very advanced city. So members can see from other peers, more advanced cities, how they are doing it and what are the opportunities for them to do things better. So these would be my very quick reactions to what you were saying. And one other point I'd like to make at the end is that there is also quite a lot of suspicion among our political leadership about what data means, because there is a feeling that some of the very large companies are coming and taking away all the data. The issue of data privacy is politically a very important issue. So I think equally important for 3.0 is to build a greater confidence on data transparency and also transparency in terms of the algorithms which are coming in. So people should know exactly how the data collected from the city is being used, and as much as possible, given the unemployment and other things, that people can benefit from it. Final point I'd like to make in your excellent point about the global convergence in Smart City 3.0. Let's not forget that the whole world is going through the fourth industrial revolution, and the jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday. So especially when you look at Asian countries where you've got an average age of only 20 or 22, these people are not going to be having the skills they have today may not be relevant at all in 20 years' time. So this whole thing about 3.0, Smart City 3.0 is how do we upskill, reskill ourselves in such a way that the leadership is spread to the entire society and not just to a few people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, dear respectful Dr. Vijay Jagannathan. Also, I greatly give my great respect to you, your long-term commitment and leadership for the CityNet, who has been actually serving the also ASEAN Pacific region for their development and their prosperity, and also solving the problem and creating a good peace and also partnership around the region. Your commitment has been actually really inspired many leaders around the world. I hope your also leadership continues and also shared with many of other people, and hope we host you here in Korea later soon in this forum again. Thank you. And also now I'll move on to our friend David from IDB. And then David, I'm going to ask you the same question which I asked you. Would you like to give your also some inspiring thought on it?
Sure, absolutely. So complementary to the vision, this evolutionary vision from Vijay, regarding from how smart cities have evolved in the last decade from this 1.0 to 3.0. I think that there are also a few complementary topics to mention. Like, for example, regarding the main concerns on the main topics that are going to be developed and have been like the seed in order to evolve this smart city concept. Usually they started with security concerns and how to monitoring with cameras the street, and how to monitoring the noise sensors in order for get a user control on different areas in the city, and also with geo-referencing on the different maps for location of vehicles in terms of security issues. Also, there is a vision that has to do with mobility and related to a smart traffic control light, for example, or cameras for street and road monitoring. So there are many other examples that are very interesting that are most of them, or some of them are implemented in Latin America, like automatic toll that has a dynamic pricing depending on the intensity of traffic. But one thing that I think is very important is the feedback from the citizens. So all these initial features that have been part of these smart cities uh, would enhance a lot if we are able to implement the feedback from the citizens. We've been talking different functionalities in utilities, in euro infrastructure, and in environmental, that without that implementation and in a participative way, in which you could get through social networks or through specific apps where you can get this feedback from the most of the citizens in terms of identifying where are the troubleshootings of a city in terms of waste of water instead of how there are congestion in traffic or many of the things that have to do on how to solve and evolve the city in order to improve people's lives, which in the end is one of the main goals of smart cities, to make the quality of the people being improved by the use of technology. So that will be my thought about it.
Yep. Thank you very much, Mr. David Bolognese, and also IDB's great effort to share the knowledge from many other countries for the Latin America and also Caribbean region. And especially in these days, digital transformation and also other intelligence technology, along with the business model, and also co-foundation and partnership, and also economic sharing for the inclusive prosperity. I think your also leadership on your digital transformation department in IDB really expel how the knowledge from the Europe and also America and also Korea to be shared with also Latin America region. I believe such success will be actually the more promoted, and with this leadership forum, hope we can meet in person soon again. Thank you for your comments. And now I'm gonna go back to also our guru and also the professional leader, Dr. Peter Chang, who is now serving for also Singaporean government. Singapore actually has been known as one of the leading city on smart technology and civilization, at the same time declaring the smart nations and also sharing a lot of effort and also their practice with the rest of the world. So Dr. Chang, would you please share also your idea about that, the main of these the issues that we need to deal with as a leader?
Sure. First of all, thanks a lot for your nice introduction of myself and my organization. And in terms of the problem, to me, especially the Smart City 1.0, I think we started with resolving the common city problems, either highly advanced or highly populated area, with some advanced technology. Then, whenever we adopt on new technologies to solve the problems, then problems are also evolving as well. So besides the technical challenges, again, so just like BJ quoted and David commented, we have also a lot of logistic the challenges as well in terms of the security and safety as well. So I am delivering the actually technical solutions either to promote the connectivity or mobility within this smart nation, Singapore. So what I'm experiencing is, in terms of good part of Singapore, is we have very strong and consistent leadership, so that we increase the competition, but also we are providing very consistent support to the strategic partners, so that they can continue to implement their new technologies and solutions to realize that in the context of the smart city. So testbed a lot of testbed projects could be one of the example. And the other one is actually the selecting the right strategy partners and providing the economic support so that they can carve out the initial risk when they make the decision to invest in Singapore, in smart city. So this sounds like opportunity, but the opportunities are always there when we see the problems. So if I go back to the problem, again, so we are experiencing the limitations of mobility and connectivity as well. So how we resolve that? So that should be the topic of the evolved smart city problems.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Zhang. Because of lack of time, because I could not explain all your great effort and professional career, but your real contribution, the professional contribution, both in Singapore and Korea, and also Australia and the United States, in various regions, in the high tech of semiconductor, and to also the ecosystem, innovation ecosystem, and also smart city. I greatly appreciate you are the true missionary to spill over, to share the knowledge to be connected in the world. And without your effort, I don't think such kind of global leadership or our community can be connected like this. I greatly appreciate your strong commitment in being a global leader. Appreciate that. Thank you. Now, before I move on to our second interview question as a common, I'd like to ask our Secretary General, Vijay Jagannathan, some special question for you and for your organization. You have been leading this great community called CityNet. And then you have a lot of also sitting member country and institution associate member, and also I am now our Seoul National University now joining as associate member too, and I'm very happy to that. Is there any remarkable case of trying to solve the city problem, especially with some recent smart city kind of capability, or toward to use some data or sharing as a CityNet program and for the CityNet members? So would you please share some of the maybe cases that or you believe that to be known to our forum attendee? Vijay, over to you.
Thank you, Professor Huang. I think the best examples we have are from Seoul itself. Seoul is the president city of CityNet, and they have very ambitious targets of making sure that all the what you call smart city 3.0 is fully implemented by 2030, when the SDGs are supposed to be achieved by the rest of the world. So that's one example. We also have very good examples from Yokohama. But I think what the audience would like to hear more from our less developed cities on what they're doing. And there are some very good examples. Some may not be very big, but they're still important. But the one which is really interesting and which has integrated a lot of the different issues is in Quezon City in the Philippines, which has set up a whole disaster risk management system, which is, included several variables which are important when you're trying to manage the sort of, especially the typhoons which hit Philippines with regularity. That's one example. But what we have done is also we have put together about, I think now it's about 200 or 300 case studies from all over, from all our members, on examples of good practices, and many of them have got smart city elements. Now, as I was mentioning, most of our smart city elements are not fully integrated because the biggest challenge we face in our developing country cities context is the point which I made, that subnational governments are not in control over all the urban services. It becomes very, very difficult to have a system of systems when that's not there, and when the political leadership at the national level doesn't want to give up control on, say, energy supply or transport or even policing function and so on, it becomes difficult. So there are many examples. I would welcome all the participants to look at the CityNet website, where we've got the case studies, and that would give you a whole lot of them. but I did mention that Quezon City was one example where they went over and above by trying to set up a fully integrated disaster risk management system. But there are other interesting ones too in Indonesia, in Makassar. There are examples also in Nepal and Sri Lanka and in India too. Many of them. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Jagannathan. Truly, the sharing knowledge and also and data, not only just technology development best practices, and also creating understanding each other and building confidence to create the future together is such a great effort of the civilization. And your CityNet actually made that very good example of a community. I greatly appreciate for your also comments and your sharing. Well, let me move on to our second common questions that I prepared for interviewees. Well, we are in the Global Smart City Leadership Forum, and then modern city problems are globally connected, as we say that there are many things that, and also we are sharing what we are doing in the world, what we have a problem in the world. We are also we are confirming the truth through the case, such as pandemic and also global financing and other the economic and also some political crisis happening around the world. What do you think that should be done to promote or the cooperation and confidence of peace around the region, around the country, by the cities also effort to cross the boundary for the national boundary? And so I'd like to ask you that can we, the civilization effort as a city, to symbolize that city is a community, symbolizing and showing the virtue that how to live together or better, then how the city can show such the effort that globally connected, the living together or solving the problem or even promoting the peace together. So let me go back to maybe the VJ again.
Well, I think one of the most significant developments today is the fact that leadership at the city level, which would be what we would call the subnational level, has begun to recognize that they play a key role in the future of the planet. And so for the first time, we are finding that even national leaders are willing to delegate and to hear more from what the cities are saying. And that's exactly where I think your vision of Smart City 3.0 becomes so important, because our leadership has to not only convince the communities on the importance of doing things differently, but very often they have to convince the national leadership on some of these issues which we are discussing here, but which are not that familiar to many of the ministries, because typically our ministries at most country levels are organized in a very 20th century fashion into what are called sectoral silos. Now, the main message of Smart City for local leadership is that you cannot have silos. You cannot have transport as one department and water supply as another and energy as a third, with nobody talking to each other, or that all their systems, electronic and other systems, are done from a central directive rather than being integrated into each other. So this is a huge opportunity, and I think these kinds of debates and forums, and also having leaders like yourself taking an active engagement in the network, would make a huge difference, because ultimately it's only through the power of persuasion that we can bring about changes. Nothing can happen just because the central government says you should be a smart city. It doesn't work. The city leadership and the city communities have to realize the benefits of it, and that would certainly become much, much more important with Smart City 3.0. And of course, continuing work on the 2.0, which still hasn't been completed in most of our cities.
Thank you, Vijay. Yes, I think leadership should play still very committed role for the also social sustainability and by collaborating each other. Maybe I'll move on to Peter. the Singapore actually also shows a strong leadership from both governmental side and at the same time also try to also exercise with the technology. So would you please share with us some of the agenda that how the city actually can play in this creating a new value for the global citizenship?
Yes, I may share a few living examples we are doing in Singapore, especially during the pandemic period. So I can give you two examples. One is the Trace Together. So right after we started that the Trace Together, which is the real-time localization system, either using mobile phones or other wearable devices. And even for the elderly, the government has distributed all the small tokens, GPS tokens, so that they don't really need to care about whether they have been exposed to the COVID or not. So government actually automatically screen them. And if they have been within, for example, 10 meters of distance in indoor with those who are already infected in COVID-19, we actually received the automated message. So we just did the close monitoring and attended the cleaning. So definitely it shouldn't be very easy to overcome all the personal data security issue and also all the regulations. But thanks to the strong leadership by the government worked with the technology providers and they implement this within just 1 quarter the nationwide. So that is one very good example. Another one is also we are doing real-time temperature monitoring in public area using the cameras. So it's not the IR cameras, but we are using just normal RGB cameras to monitor the temperature of individuals. So because the camera is not so precise to measure the temperature, they are using definitely AI. So they monitor the temperature. If they see some trend in increasing the temperature of the human bodies, then they actually provide some antigen tests to the people so that they can detect the infection in the earlier stage. So actually in Singapore, we took this advantage, the COVID, to overcome the resistance of people in adopting new technology in the context of smart city. And I think there are a few very famous examples of successful the smart city concepts either from United States or European countries. And nowadays we are learning from each other very quickly. And we are benchmarking other successful the governments or authorities, how they increase either public entities and public and private collaborations in a short time. So we should be more open-minded and we should learn from each other. And actually this kind of event to share each other what we have been doing well, or what was the mistake we made. By sharing these informations, I think we can do better, especially for the evolved problems from the smart cities.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jan. Especially, I think the World Bank recently also created a report called the Breaching the Technological Divide and among the firms and countries and also society. Well, I think technology has been considered to be a competitive edge of the innovation that actually need to be protected for the knowledge, right? And then, yes, it is. But now we are in the more mature society that technology to be shared and then open and not protected to share. And so also even data or proprietary information data not protected by the intellectual property owner, but shared by the non-NFT, right, non-fungible token. And then what it means that knowledge creates a higher value for the society when it is better shared. Now we realize that just not keeping the originality of creating is the contribution, but sharing and bridging and connecting and using it is a great value for the society. So I think like a World Bank, also Singaporean organization, right, and sharing and also providing and also creating a transparent also technological capability is very, I think, important mission and strategy. I think all country and also nation and community should also pursue that way instead of try to have an old way of the competition and innovation. Thank you for your also great inspiration. David, over to you. You might also have some of your experience on that. David?
Yeah, sure. I'd like to share that our vision is that the smart cities should not happen without collaboration. I'm talking about international collaboration and leadership. So counting on the leadership means that to reflect the support between different countries and between different cities on the lessons learned that have been taken by the most advanced smart cities in order to implement a project with a comprehensive and integrated vision that promotes collaboration between different countries and between also different institutions. Not only different countries, but also private and public associations work together.
Yep.
So from IDB Group, created 5 years ago the IDB Cities Network as a platform for Latin American and Caribbean cities to facilitate the exchange of knowledge and solutions to address common urbanization challenges. So we have defined 3 lines of work. First one, knowledge transfer and dissemination. Second one, live exchanges to identify common problems and their solutions for capacity building. And last, build connections with partner institutions to promote sustainable urban development. So this is one example how we could share leadership and share experiences and lessons learned from one country to another. Another different platform that we created that started even before, it was created 11 years ago, is the Emerging and Sustainable Cities Initiative. This initiative was created to support medium-sized cities in Latin America to address their sustainability challenges in the short and medium run. We're talking about cities ranging from 100K population to 2 million inhabitants. So this methodology has been applied in more than 60 cities in the region to evidence the lack of understanding and knowledge in the public sector on how to combine technology and management to improve people's lives. So this gives us a huge learning that there are many things that we could share together in order to improve these cities that want to move from a traditional city into a smart city. And it's increasing important the demand of these cities in order to have more support from a regional perspective in Latin America. And this is where IDB Invest and IDB Group play a major role.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Yes, you remarked that also the importance of leadership on the smart city to create the consensus and awareness of what the smart city should be, between, among the people and improving their understanding about the future or what they want to really also cooperate living together. Thank you, David. And well, I think we have 10 minutes. I will give you some freedom to express your own video and as a leader. And so this is my final interviewer questions for you. You are leading the global smart cities in your own position and organization. As a global smart city leader yourself, what smart city you dream of, and then what effort you believe you're making at a given time of your position or rest of your professional life to realize this. So I'll go back to VJ, and then maybe David, and then to Peter.
Thank you, Professor Huang. I think the first message, which I think all of us here would agree, is that usually a crisis presents an opportunity. And when you look at the COVID as a problem, what has been incredible among our cities is how they responded and used basically all the digital tools available to basically, take care of an extremely challenging problem, as most of our cities have at least 20-30% living in slums of the population under very unhygienic conditions, but overall they were able to keep the infection down. So that's one. The other crisis as an opportunity is that climate change has become a reality. So typhoons and cyclones, as they're called in South Asia, these have become so unpredictable and so damaging that politically also mayors and others have become very, very sensitive to that. And they realize that they are going to be held accountable if the next typhoon hits and a lot of people lose their lives. Again, the smart city concepts and ideas have been welcomed by them, and it has led to very good results, like the example I gave you about Quezon City, but there are many others too: earthquakes, cyclones, or a whole lot of other things. The third thing is that what I would call the bottom-up part. One of the most fascinating things of Asia, I mean, it's very different from the other continents, is the fact that we've got this huge youth bulge, huge amount of energy, the willingness to do things. There are lots of people with basic technical skills, and also there's a lot of respect for academic institutions like SNU and others. Almost every country has got one or two leading institutions, and the faculty there, they command a lot of respect. So the influencers become very, very important, and that's the reason why we are so delighted that SNU is also joining us. And so I think the role of influencers in not only sensitizing the population, but also the leadership at the city level, because most of the city leaders are local politicians, and so their perspectives generally tend to be fairly short term, but they do respond when there's a crisis. And now I think, unfortunately for the wrong reasons, people are at least willing to start thinking differently, which is the first step before you can get into smart city dialogue. This was not there even 5 years ago, but now it is very much there in every city of our membership network. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. I'm expecting to hear more on all of your great leadership experience, and then we're looking forward to also in other time too. Thank you. And David?
Yeah, thank you, Professor Wang. I tried to be very brief in order to give time to my colleague. I believe that Latin American cities have experienced some difficulties in absorbing large concentrations of people from rural areas in the last 14, 15 years. In addition, the region needs to solve some challenges like poverty, with over 25% of people below the line of poverty, crime rates, and low connectivity, with global figures below 50% of connectivity in the region. So these are the challenges that we would like to see that could be solved in Latin America. And I would also like to add that by promoting integrated and sustainable development, smart cities may become more innovative, competitive, attractive, and resilient, and thus improving people's lives, namely with topics like mobility, traffic, safety, security, surveillance, water, energy, and risk management. Those are the main benefits that we could improve in order to enhance people's lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David, and also Vijay. David, it's a very late overnight in DC now, and great to appreciate for sharing your precious time, and thank you. And over to you, Peter.
Okay, so my last comment should be, again, smart city is the opportunity to me. So how we make this business make sense in terms of economic the sense. So again, so there will be a lot of smart cities across the world. Maybe all the cities will evolve as a smart cities, but how we can make some smart cities as a providers of the solutions to other cities. So where there is opportunity, then there will be a business, right? So how we attract the businesses and lower down the hurdles so that they can try out new technologies, and so that people can adopt that, and they will have the better understanding what is the real problem, what is the gap they can differentiate from other existing solutions. Those actually systemic the solutions made from the leadership is very important, I think.
Thank you, Peter. And again, also greatly appreciate also your engagement. Always also great practice on this our community. Well, also Peter Chang also served as a Smart City Board, and which was also the keynote speech theme, the Neo City, and then he's actually serving a lot of services over internationally. I greatly appreciate also your service and contribution. Well, as a concluding, let me remark on the first question. I first thank all the interviewees for your precious time inspiring your comments on the smart city leadership, which we need to practice in a global way. And another one, and before conclusion, that our city needs leadership. The reason is that we are experiencing a way that we need to improve how to live together and in different way. And the leadership should focus on also create the value that how all of our members to live together. And I believe all of our distinguished interviewee and also following panel discussion panelists have been actually thinking and researching and practicing in a word that how to live together and better. I greatly appreciate, and then I hope all of our attendees really think that how we can live together better through our smart city leadership and civilization. I thank you all and look forward to seeing you again in other sessions. Thank you.
Please give a big round of applause to Professor Chun-Seok Hwang and all of our interviewees.